Not taking risks is taking risks. That's what ThomasFrank told us when he came to Spurs, when he joined Tottenham Hotspur. Since then, we've played worse and worse. But is ThomasFrank going to be a Poch, or is he going to be a Graham Potter? Let's dissect. Hi guys, it's Manny here. Welcome to the channel. Welcome to Designated Hotspur. As your YouTubers always do and always say, smash the like, subscribe if you like what you're hearing, and follow me on all social media if you can. It's 3 days after the North London Derby. I gave myself 3 days before releasing this this video. I mean, I am a bit better than how I felt yesterday, where I was much more upset over the results and actually over the performance, to be completely honest. But yeah, definitely better than Sunday, to be completely honest. So let's dive right into it. I think the performance on Sunday was shocking. It was a shocking performance. I think all us Spurs fans, not deluded ones, who actually understood where we were and where we are in the process, understand that we are not where we want to be from a player perspective, from a board perspective, from a transfer perspective. However, what we did know is that, as people say, and it's a cliche, when it comes to the derbies, the North London Derby especially, form goes out the window. Well, our away form went out the window, if you know what I'm trying to say. I mean, let's split this into two different sections, and I don't want this to be a long-winded video. I do feel sorry to a certain extent for ThomasFrank. I do feel sorry for him. He doesn't have Kulusevski, who's been injured for quite a while now. He hasn't got Maddison, who's instrumental in the way we play. He hasn't got Sonny, who, even though he was on a decline last season and people didn't want to hear it, he still contributed with a lot of goals and assists. So I do feel sorry for him. I do think that he is, what's the word that I want to use? He is a victim of abysmal transfer saga for the past 10 years, abysmal incomings, abysmal sales, and abysmal transfer policy that the club has instituted of buying young. I get that. I do feel sorry for him, and I don't expect free-flowing football. I don't expect him to, turn us into a Barcelona, for a lack of better comparison. I get that, and I understand that. I understand the section of the fan base that, keeps reminding us of that fact, even though they didn't remind us of that fact last season, right? I get that. I fully understand that, and I do for that reason. I do feel sorry for them. I do feel somewhat sympathy for ThomasFrank. I do. That is the only reason why I do think why I'm not ThomasFrank out, and I do think that he deserves a little bit more time at the very least, and he deserves to get the team into a position where he can buy himself time, buy himself a few more transfer windows. And if you are wondering why there is this blue light, it's because I'm in the office and I've got these screens that are shining this onto my face, which is making me look a bit weird, but hey ho, let's just focus on the video. So I do get that. And that's the reason why I'm not ThomasFrank out at the moment. But I have to say, something has to change. Something has to change. We cannot continue like this. the game against Arsenal was not the catalyst. It was not the reason, but it was definitely the straw that broke the camel's back. If you know what I'm trying to say. We have been poor for some time. And our XG, even though people absolutely hate it, what is going on here, right? Even though people absolutely hate, me bringing up XG and XG comparatives and that as a metric, we've been abysmal. And I know what people are going to say, because I've been having issues. I've been having conversations with the likes of Lubo, with the likes, with Sava. I've been having conversations with a lot of people. And I know people are going to say, but we haven't got the players. I'm sorry. Yes, we haven't got the players to compete with Arsenal. Yes, I agree with that. I agree we haven't got the players to compete with Arsenal. But we sure as hell have the players to string passes together and compete with Wolves. We have the players to string passes together to compete with Doncaster. Even though we won, our performance was abysmal. We do have the players to have more than 0 shots on target against Villarreal at home. I'm sorry to say. People don't want to hear it. But I'm sorry, we do have that. But I think the biggest problem that we have, which I've been banging on about on every stream I've gone on to, which seems to be falling on deaf ears purely maybe because I'm not a content creator extraordinaire. I'm new to this game. But people are not listening to is our passing out of a press is horrendous. We last season, for all the faults that Ange Postecoglou had, one thing you couldn't fault him on is that he wanted the ball on the floor as passing from the back and passing forward with intricate, positional awareness of the team. And even, scrap last season, because obviously we had a situation where, and regardless of the fact that people don't want to hear it, we had a situation where we didn't have our players, things were going wrong, morale was down, and that affected us. But in the first season, you could see, even in the second season, to be fair, you could see he used to shout at players when they were not passing it forward and they were passing it backwards. He used to scream at players if the first thing they thought was to lump the ball up. We are now in a situation where ThomasFrank has turned us into lump the ball up FC. Lump the ball up FC. Every single time Porro gets the ball, every single time Van de Ven gets the ball, every single time Udogie gets the ball, every single time Vicario is taken, he just lumps it up. He lumps it up to a player in Richarlison, which we all know and we all agree cannot hold the ball up to save his life. So what is the plan here, ThomasFrank? What is the plan here? Like, as I said, I'm not ThomasFrank out. I want him to succeed. I want you to succeed, ThomasFrank. But you would have to succeed in a better way than you're doing now. If you want to get to to get 2 transfer windows, you need to do better. Now, if we want to focus solely on the Arsenal game, we went to a back three of Van de Ven, Romero, Danso, supposedly wing backs of Udogie and Spence. The 2 sixes of Bentancur and Paulinho, and then a front 3, or 2 tens of Odobert and Kudus, and a front person of Richarlison. I had no issue with the lineup. Although as soon as I saw Richarlison up front, I knew we were not going to press high up. I knew it. I knew we were not going to press high up. And I don't want to single out Richarlison because actually he was one of our best players in the game. But the the approach to that game was disgusting. It was horrendous. It was timid. I mean, a back three with two wing backs turned into a back five, right? And we decided to sit in with our two pivots in Paulinho and Bentancur. Odobert had the stinker of the biggest stinker of his life, so he was non-existent. Kudus, was trying but couldn't do much. And we lost the game. We lost the game in the first 10 minutes. We lost the game we lost the game before we even started. Is what I meant. And it's, I get it. We are at Arsenal away, but show some cojones. Show some cojones, ThomasFrank. Show us what your patterns of play are. Show us how you've trained on positioning by the back line to get the ball out of a press. That's all I'm asking. And we served up one of the worst North London derbies of all time. We served up at 0.07 XG, which was coincidentally the second worst to our game against another rival, Chelsea, at home, where we had 0.05 XG. And I think that's where ThomasFrank has to really focus on. I listened to his presser, and I was very happy to hear that he said he watched the game back, and it was a terrible watch. Let me just shift to see whether I can get this silly blue reflection on my face. Maybe not, but hey ho, it's all right. It is what it is. Let me just. Yeah, he said he watched the game back. He said he watched the game back, and it was quite a tough watch, and that what he served up is what we watched ourselves. But what concerned me a little bit is that when they asked him what he should have done better, what went wrong, his focus was on winning duels. He said we won 19 of our 50 duels or 40 duels. I can't even remember top of my head. And I'm thinking, yeah, that's true. Yes, we lost the duels, but it's not surprising. It's not surprising because we lost duels because we haven't got the players. We haven't got the player up top, the focal point up top that can get the ball down and bring people into play. And yes, we lost the second phase because we're an aggressive. But what are we trying to become, ThomasFrank? What are we trying to become? Are you trying to make us into a team of Vikings that we fight for their lives every single game? Or are you trying to focus on us being, even if we become a transition team, again, going back to my point, you will need to focus on how we get ourselves out of a press. You can't be a transition team without getting yourself out of a press. You can't be a team that dominates possession without being able to get yourself out of a press. So ThomasFrank, I get the duels, I get the second balls, but my friend, please focus. Focus, G. Focus, brother. Because this whole duels and winning the second ball should be secondary to what we do with the ball. Now, I was taking a look at the XG, our expected goals and our chance creation, and bar Man City and Burnley and West Ham away and Brighton and Bodo Glimt and Everton and Copenhagen, which was our best time yet. The remaining games was a shambles, guys. It was a shambles. Like I'm talking about 0.2 XG against Bournemouth. Don't get me wrong, we should have been we were battered, but we should have lost by way more than what we did. And we were at home. We had 0.5 XG against Villarreal, and we had 0 shots on target in that game, and people forget. Against Wolves, we had 0.8 XG, and they went to a back 5 in the second half, and ThomasFrank, that everyone told me can adapt, couldn't adapt, right? Leeds United, we scored 2 very good goals. It was a good away performance, in my opinion. I know people disagree. And Villa, we competed, but Monaco, we got battered. Chelsea, 0.05 XG, 0.9 XG against United, but even that, it was a 0.07 XG in the first half until they went down to 9 men. And then a 0.07 XG against Arsenal. It's just not good enough. It's just not good enough. And it's not acceptable. And anyone that says that this is because we haven't got the players, I'm sorry, you are wrong. Yes, our attacking patterns are because we haven't got the players. Our progressive ball passing and carrying, yes, because we haven't got the players. But when it comes to our passing out from the back, passing out of a press, which can help us, we are abysmal, and that's not because of the players. So this is it really, in terms of my take on the situation now. As I said, I'm not Frank out. I do want him to succeed. I do want him to change his mentality. I do like the fact that, when things like that, he says the right things, guys. He says the right things, but will he do the right things? That's the question. Is he going to do the right things? Because at the moment, it's not. Our biggest asset at the start of the season was our press. Our press was our biggest asset. Press high. That's what we did against City. It wasn't progressive passing. It wasn't passing out our attacking prowess. It was our press. And ThomasFrank, you have now decided, not even we, because you have now decided to take us so many yards back and have our opposition have all of the ball without any cohesive press. Snap out of it, please. Snap out of it. I literally waited for 3 days so that I could not be overly reactionary. I would not be overly upset over the situation. I'm doing it at work in a different environment where I would do this normally. But please, ThomasFrank, you need to buy yourself time. You need to buy yourself time. You are very fortunate, I have to say, and I know you know it. You are very fortunate that game, the North London Derby, that game was at the Emirates. Had that game been at the Spurs stadium, mate. But yeah, so tonight is Thursday. I think by the time you guys see this, it will most likely be very close to the PSG game. Again, I'm not, the PSG game for me is a bit of a write-off. Obviously, I want us to compete, but I'm not going to judge Frank on that game. But our next 2 games, I believe, if I'm correct, is, and let me double check, our next game is Fulham at home on Saturday night at 8 o'clock. And the following, sorry guys, I'm just checking, but our following game is Newcastle away and then Brentford at home. These 3 games, he has to do better. He has to do better. It's imperative. It's imperative that he does better. Especially our game against Fulham, which is another London derby at home. I fear for him if he puts on another dross of a display, another horrendous display. So, listen. ThomasFrank needs time. There are three sections of the fan base at the moment. The first section of the fan base being the part of the fan base that immediately wants him out. I understand their thoughts. I understand the frustration. However, I do think that Frank needs time, right? So let's give him a bit of time. We need a bit of stability at the club. We can't just chop and change at all times. However, I do understand where they're coming from, because at the moment things have to change. And as I said, Frank needs to be the person to buy himself time. And then there is a section of the fan base that feels that Frank should not and cannot be... this camera just winds me up. Just keeps going on to standby mode. Anyway, there's that section of the fan base that thinks that Frank cannot be criticized, and that because we have no players whatsoever and Frank cannot do anything whatsoever. I'm sorry to say to you guys, but you're deluded. If you think that, and that section of the fan base are the same people who, when Ange was having to field Fraser Forster in goal, Archie Gray at the back with Dragusin, Bergvall in midfield, they were the same people that were saying Ange should adapt. So I don't buy it. I do not buy the fact that Frank hasn't got the players to do anything whatsoever. And then there is a section of the fan base where I fall in, where it's give him some time. Obviously, at the same time thinking, Frank, buy yourself some time. But at the same time, I can also openly criticize his approach to games. And I think that's where majority of fans are. For sure, I know that Sava is in that camp. I know that Sean is in that camp. But yeah, Frank, this is a message to you, mate. Figure it out. Figure it out, and figure it out quick. Because if you want to get the chance to get more players come in, more quality, you need to buy yourself some time. This is elite sport. This is the Premier League. It's ruthless and it's unforgiving. But anyway, guys, thank you for listening to me. And, smash the likes. Subscribe to the channel. Share with people. I think I'm on 68 subscribers. Pretty new. There's just my third video. But yeah, let's just keep growing and see where this can take us. Peace.